And
Hello, James Lewis.
good morning, Lindsay. We are excited today. Our guest today is an Emmy Award-winning sportscaster, host, reporter, Lindsay Czarniak. Lindsay, thank you for joining us today. We'll be discussing the new documentary, Aaron Hernandez and the Untold Murders of Bristol. So obviously a lot serious or more important topic than we typically discuss on the show. Usually it's a lot more fun and light. We discuss a lot of sports, a lot of pop culture, but obviously something this important. Our listeners want to know when and where they can view this compelling new documentary.
So it is tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Investigation Discovery. It is, here's how I would sum it up, and honestly, those are the things I love too, sports and pop culture, but I love sports, and what lights me up is really the players and just the behind the scenes stuff, coaches, just understanding more about the game from the human interest side. To be honest, I love the X's and O's. I love being on the sidelines, but really, I am like addicted to just absorbing what you can about understanding the storylines of what makes these people tick, right? So this is something that really just adds another layer, I think, to the Aaron Hernandez story. And what really struck my interest in when they started talking to me about being a part of this documentary was this was an angle like I hadn't even heard of. I didn't even know that this existed. So I think it's really been out there about the Aaron Hernandez murders, the suicide, the whole story about, him at the Patriots and the downfall that he started to go through. And working at Sports Center at ESPN in Bristol, when that happened, it was really a different type of story for us to cover because it was in Bristol. He was from Bristol. There were pieces of the story that were coming alive in Bristol, et cetera, so to speak. And when they approached me and were talking about, look, this is about the Bristol side of things, and what they had uncovered was that there were two teammates that were on the high school team with Aaron in Bristol who also were involved in murder. And so that started raising a lot of questions. And this documentary really goes into a little bit of the upbringing, but really like the adolescent growth of Aaron Hernandez, what was happening with that football team and what that was like, and then that transition from there to the NFL. And I really think that one of the things that I found most interesting was some of the detail that was told with people that knew Aaron about his father and the relationship with his father. And one of the things I always like to think about and I'm interested in is players' backgrounds. And a lot, not all of them, but some of them have dealt with a ton of adversity to get to where they are. And Aaron, I think his dad, it's been documented before, but was really into his football career and put a lot of pressure on him, etc. But when he died unexpectedly, Aaron was already a little bit down that path, that dark path. And I think hearing from others about how that impacted him was really eye-opening and raised a lot of other questions for me, frankly, just about the journey and maybe what we didn't know.
Exactly. Like you were saying, the pressure that his father put on him. It's interesting how sometimes pressures can make diamonds, and the other hand, sometimes it can crush a young person and their dreams.
That's true. And I also think, and when you throw in the fact that his father died from complications with the procedure, what happens if that doesn't happen? And I don't know that answer. And I don't know how strong or how much of an influence his father would have been if he was here when Aaron made it, right? So then what are we talking about the same scenario? Could there have been someone who stepped in and realized the depths of what he was dealing with, because of the things that he was choosing to do? Could there have been someone who stopped it? Those are all questions. And I think, then there's the concussion part of it, and that's really fascinating. One of the parts that I thought was really very eye-opening also in the documentary is psychologists who looked at and went through those scans and things, just some of the things that she has to say about the level of concussion that it was clear that he had dealt with and the impact of that. So yeah, there's a lot. It is a very heavy topic. but it's a heavy topic that impacted sports and king in the United States, so it's very interesting.
Definitely. Yeah, I was gonna say when I'm reading it and learning more about it, the CTE thing kind of came to mind, the Benoit issues.
I mean, and I don't know, what was your thought about that? Because it is very true. I mean, you can look at a lot of situations and say, oh, this is very similar.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you do have those, the combination of the brain damage and then trying to fit in with a new culture like he was doing, and then the drugs. I mean, it just, all those things add up. And unfortunately, not having that positive role model, like you said, with his father, I think it really put things in a bad perspective.
How that was, you're right, that is very what that psychologist said in the documentary about Aaron. And it's sort of, it is a slippery slope. Like, I feel like on one hand, you don't want to go out there and be like, oh, well, this must be the cause because frankly, it feels very surreal. I mean, and then there's a whole different path to go down. Like, if we know this, then what, right? And I do know 100% that the NFL is doing everything they can to continue to make as many advancements always as they can in the safety of the players. And honestly, that can be solid because there has been so much advancement that's been made, right? If you look at a decade ago or however, it is very scary, and it raises a lot of questions because I'm a mom. Like, I have a son who adores the game of football, right? But it's like, I worry about that. And I try to talk to players about that. Like, what would you do? I mean, it's, on one hand, too, it's like players love this sport. They've been playing since they're kids. And it's like, if that's what they love beyond everything else, then it's such a tricky topic, right?
Exactly. Well, the good news is they got those two new helmet types that, can protect. So hopefully that's going to help and reduce that in the future. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's very challenging. Lindsay, it has been a pleasure having you on. There's so much more I'd love to ask you about. I'd love to get your picks for the playoffs, but shoot, not the day for it with it being such a serious topic. So before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web can we find out more about this heart-wrenching documentary?
So, well, again, you can see the debut 9 Eastern, 8 Central tomorrow on Investigation Discovery. And you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Lindsay, LINDSAYCZ. So I'll be posting about it as well. And that's what I would say is that. Yeah.
Sounds great. We hope you have a great new year.
Thank you. You guys too.
That was Lindsay Czarniak. It's been a pleasure having her on today. We had such a serious topic of Aaron Hernandez and the untold murders of Bristol. Oh my gosh, there was so much more to dig into in that. But the good news is you can watch Investigation Discovery on January 8th, or I'm sure whenever you're watching this, you can always pull it up in the files and learn a lot about such serious topics. So thank you all for joining us today.